Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Morning Tea. My name is Wahima. That is not the intro to this. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah.
Melanated!
Welcome to another episode of Morning Tea, where we sit in our sleepwear and discuss current events. Today's tea is Earl Grey Creme by Tivana Tea. So this is the second time I'm filming this. I filmed several things yesterday. I had a whole day of filming, in fact. I was very productive. And it turns out that my external mic, the battery for my external mic was dead. So there's no sound to anything that I filmed yesterday. 3 videos I filmed, 3 different videos. No sound. So that's where I'm at right now. This is more of a think piece. I'm thinking thoughts out loud in this video today. But first, what was in the news? The White House. Girl, I just can't. I'm not gonna do it. I can't. I posted things on Twitter this week about how I felt about the White House. Like Melania, I just don't understand. Like, I don't think she can read in English. I can't talk about it right now. Anyway. I saw Get Out last weekend and I absolutely loved it. I want to watch it again because I feel like there's like subliminal text that I need to watch again. I need to get it all. You know, you got to absorb it all. It was a really good movie. And I feel like if we keep saying it's a really good movie, it's going to hype it up, hype it up, hype it up. And I'm glad I got to see it when I did because at the core, it's a good movie, but it's also very simple. It's almost like I would rather nobody have watched it and like it be one of those cult classics that everyone talks about than have it be something that blew up and people write think pieces about and do all this stuff and then it gets over exaggerated and the initial message kind of gets lost in the hype. But it's still a really good movie. It talks about things, especially if you're a Black person who has to sort of navigate waters in which you are constantly have microaggressions put against you. This movie is for you. And it's a good thriller. It's great writing. It has the comic relief is perfect in it. Really, and the acting, the fact that it's like a dark skin, clearly African looking Black male as the lead, like in an American movie that like made 30 million in its first weekend. Like, I'm so proud of everybody involved in this project. I think that it's taking us a step forward, a step in the right direction. As cinema goes, and I think that it reached a larger audience. Like, maybe not all Black people understand it because you don't necessarily deal with all those things, but I think it touches you where you're at. If it's just a good thriller for you, then that's where you're at. If it's more of a thriller horror and like, oh my god, scary reality, if you're a Black man who dates white women, really good movie, and I applaud Jordan Peele for that. Recently, within the last, obviously, like 10 years, ever since 9/11, there has been like subtle attacks on men of Middle Eastern or perceived Middle Eastern descent. So recently, within the last, like, I think month, there have been 2 men who've died in the United States who were perceived to be Middle Eastern or terrorists or whatever. And all of that has heightened because of this president being in office and the Islamophobia that is running rampant. So what's been happening is Sikh men have been killed, right? So like dumb Americans are being led to believe that they have a right to this country more so than anyone else who comes to this country because they're indigenous for some reason. It's weird that some people feel themselves to be indigenous to this country when like no one is but the Native Americans. Because these Sikh men wear turbans, there are some ignorant people who are running around killing them or attacking them because they think that they're Muslim, which in the broader picture, we have to stop trying to distinguish ourselves from Muslims. I feel like we're all Muslims. Any American who gets attacked on American soil by other Americans because they look different or because that other American identifies them as non-American or foreign, like, fuck that. We're all Muslim. We're all Sikh. We're all these people who are being attacked because it's not right. And I think that as minorities, all the minorities need to put aside their petty differences and their petty wants and desires to live up to some status that doesn't actually exist, and a status that we give to a group of people who don't deserve it. So we fight amongst each other here below this group of people so that we can try to prove to that group of people and then other minorities how much better we are than each other. And so we end up fighting each other. And when things like this happen where others of our groups are being attacked by the superior group, we're like, oh, well, thank God it's not me. I just feel like we need to be better as minority people need to be better. I get it that there are people who are just trying to survive and they feel like trying to assimilate or trying to buddy up to the supremacist power makes them better or will save them in the long run. But boo boo, it will not save you. You know, there are still glass ceilings for all race of people. And I really feel like even though everyone thinks that black people are at the bottom of the totem pole, black people actually aren't, because black people are actually CEOs of companies. Black people are actually president of the United States. Black people are actually doing a lot more in this country as a minority than the other minorities, and we're not even the largest minority. There are a lot of people who've come to this country, whether they be first, second, third, fifth generation, who have allowed themselves to kind of stay in this area where they're not the super powerful and the super rich, but they also aren't the super poor, and so they feel some sort of superiority over black people and other minority groups when they shouldn't. We should all be banding together to get to a place where we're all equal, where there isn't a glass ceiling because you're an Asian man and all you want to do is be a doctor. You should want more. You should want it all. And you shouldn't settle because you're not a victim of maybe police brutality, because that doesn't make you any better than the people who are. We have to realize our power as minorities and stop fighting amongst each other. It's really, really annoying. And so this situation where people are like, oh, he's not even Muslim and they killed him. Ah, they're so dumb. They're killing people who aren't even Muslims. Like, if you're going to be killing people, make sure they're Muslims. Like, no. We're all Muslims. Already, we all at some point in this country's history have been attacked because of our race, because of our ancestral background, because of our ethnicity. And at some point we have to say enough is enough and stop giving credence to this group of people who we've allowed to colonize and make us feel less than, even though maybe in this modern time it's not an active thing, but like with the president that we have and his cabinet, all of these nationalists and these people who feel like they have a better right and that they're superior are going to start to come out of the woodworks and kill people. It doesn't matter if you're Sikh, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim, it doesn't matter if you're Christian. So I think we all need to start thinking about that in a way that isn't just, oh, it's all about me and mine. We have to start thinking about our other brothers and sisters that are out there suffering as well. I'm not one to fight anyone's fight. So if, the Sikh community doesn't want to fight their fight, I'm not necessarily going to fight their fight, but I'm going to be there with them in solidarity and not be like, well, I'm not Sikh, I'm not Muslim. Listen, I say we're all Muslim. I don't know if you guys watch Deek Speak. I have mentioned him on my channel before. I will put a link down below. But he recently did a video where he gave me a shout out in it. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kevin. In that video, he did bring up a really good point at the end of it where he was talking about having a difference of opinion with people and how you can still be friends with somebody or still love somebody even though you have a different opinion. Him and his wife were having a discussion about whether or not a couple who isn't married get pregnant. The man says he doesn't want the baby or he doesn't want to have to pay child support or whatever that is, right? And so I was like, maybe I should talk about that in the morning tea because that's super controversial and I'll upset a lot of people by having this conversation. So here's the deal. I feel a certain way when it comes to having children in general. I feel like having children is a very, very big deal. And there are a lot of women or a lot of people out there who don't feel like it's a big deal. So one of their rights as a human being is to procreate. And I agree with you, but I think that you have to be responsible in your procreation. I think that if you can't afford to have a kid, you shouldn't have one. But I'm all about personal responsibility. And I think a lot of people aren't. A lot of people don't have personal responsibility. Like if things are going wrong in their lives, it always is someone else's fault. If something is going wrong in my life, I look to see what I have done to contribute to it. How did I get here, right? So if I end up in a situation where I get pregnant, which I can't even imagine it because there are so many ways to not get pregnant. It just happens. Like that doesn't fly with me personally. And so I know that it does happen. If I were to get pregnant and I were to be with a guy or have sex with a guy and I were to tell him, hey, I'm pregnant, and he were to be like, I don't want this baby. To me, I would say, okay, and I would choose whether or not I wanted to have the baby, but I would know that he doesn't. And so I would not expect anything from him, nor would I accept it if he tried to come back later on. Like, that's me. Like, if I tell you I'm pregnant and you say, I don't want this, I can't do this right now, blah, 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 then I'm going to get a lawyer and I'm going to make you sign away your rights. Like, I know that, you could be like, oh, well, that's not fair because my dad didn't want me in the beginning and then came around when I was 8 and I'm really grateful. Like, boo, 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 boo. No. If you say no, then you're out all the way. If you say yes, then you're in all the way. So, like, I don't do half nothing, right? So if you say no, then you get out. And you get out and you don't come back until they're 18. Until they're no longer my responsibility to take care of. Or if you do want to come back, then you need to start paying child support 5 years before you turn up on the scene. Because I'm going to need you to financially put your ducats in the bucket. Okay? Because I'm not going to do it by myself and then you reap the benefit of being like the savior daddy figure. Because that's not how I roll. We're all suffering together, right? I personally feel like if it were me, I have to take responsibility for my behavior. And I know in any situation, in most situations, and not all, but most, the women end up taking the brunt of the childbearing, the child rearing. We have to carry the child. We have to provide for the child. Like, society has set it up so that if a mother is bad, then she's shamed for all of her life. When a mother isn't around, it's more devastating, and I think it's socialized that way. It's more devastating to a child. So women bear the brunt of this. Women bear the brunt of the responsibility of having children. But if this were to be put into law, I would not vote that way. I would vote the opposite. I would vote that if a man gets a woman pregnant, he's responsible. Men already have enough power over women, and the one thing we do have is being able to take somebody to court for child support and having them actually fucking pay. I have to vote for the masses, not for my personal belief in that scenario. Okay, guys, that's it for morning tea. Let me know what you think below. I know this is like a crazy video, but that's just how I feel. Have a fantastic day. Bye.